Hey Alex, alright, so here is your past life spread, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at where we are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, and a death and lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout, okay? So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that I'm getting, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what we go over here and your current life, and I'll try to help how I can too, okay? So let's start. So here we have what's called the Nomad card, and this means a couple of things. It either means somebody is on the move constantly, or they don't have a home base. Like, not just a home base, it's almost like the place can't even be identified nowadays. Like, it's no longer what it once was. And what comes through though, it does feel like we're going like north where it's icy. It feels like what comes to mind is like a Norwegian feel, or like Icelandic, or because sometimes they'll show me the ice, you know, for the word Icelandic kind of thing, but it feels like we're going in the northern hemisphere where there is a lot of ice, a lot of snow. It doesn't mean all year round, but for the majority of the time it's a very cold climate, and it feels like movement is involved, even though where you move around is all in the northern hemisphere. So it's not like you're going around the world, it's like you're staying up there, like in those regions, and you're constantly moving, and it feels like you go from place to place, and it's the kind of thing where it feels like because of whatever skill or service or product you have, it's the kind of thing where you're moving around to distribute it in a kind of sense. And the feel is, so this feels like a male life, and it feels like we're starting off already. They're showing me like already in his, like, at least his late 20s. So they're already like popping us past childhood into the late 20s, early 30s even, and it feels almost like, as far as the time, I would say it feels like the 20th century, but like it feels like early 20th century. Either early 20th century or late 19th century, like at the turn of the century kind of thing. And because we're seeing this guy walking, and there's no like vehicle, it's not like there's cars yet. It's almost like if it would be anything, it'd be like pulling a wagon, or there's a horse or something like that to move his wares, to move around, almost like like it almost feels like it's almost like colonial, like when we think of colonial in America, like just like the, like how they with the wagons and the, I don't know, I can't explain it, but like it feels like colonial, but over here in like the northern hemisphere region. So, you know, it might be interesting is if you Google if there was a colonial period in Norway or Iceland, or even like the three, what are those things, like what's next to Norway, like Sweden, or what, those God, I can't even think right, the Scandinavian, there you go. See if there was a colonial period in the Scandinavian area and see what pops up as far as like the date and like what it looks like, because that'd be really interesting. So keep that in mind. And how you could be making connections already is simply like, have you ever felt pulled towards Norway or those Scandinavia as far as culture, art, food? When you see photos, do they pull you in more than other kinds of photos from history kind of thing? Are you, okay, here's an interesting one. Are you like a winter person? Do you love snow, skiing, snowboarding, or even just like the idea or looking at snowy mountains or snowy land? Does that bring you like a therapeutic feeling? Does that make you feel homey, cozy? Or on the opposite, because we're seeing you experience it here, it could be that you've been born in this life where you despise the cold because you've had so much of it here, you see? So that's how the connections can be made. It can be either a direct connection where it's the same, or an opposite connection where it would be completely opposite. But keep that in mind, keep making connections with that. And that time period too. If you've been drawn to that time period at all, like in school, and that's, you know, you were learning about the 1900s kind of thing, like the turn of the century, if that was like kind of the thing that you were into, keep that in mind. It's like little connections like that. It can even be how you decorate your house. Like, do you like Scandinavian design? You know, are you like, oh my god, I love IKEA, you know? So here, this is what you do with the majority of your time. So this is the teacher card. Yeah, it's a teacher card. For a second, it felt like a healer card. That's interesting. But this is the teacher card. And so what is coming through is immediately this is linked with the mobility, and it feels very much like you are moving around teaching something, and I'm trying to see what it is, because so like the students, they're showing me students of all ages, so it's not like you're going around and teaching like young kids in school. It feels like you're actually teaching more so. There's something about teaching adults something, but it's not like teaching them like how to farm. It's not like that. It feels more intellectual. It feels like teaching adults to read, that like almost like in a time when reading, wherever you are, reading wasn't a big deal kind of thing. You're like, no, I need to like teach people how to read, or it was something intellectual. So I'm seeing like the adults coming together to learn from you, and that's what you're doing, is like you're pulling, it's almost like you're pulling a wagon of books around to teach these adults in these kind of remote locations almost. So it's like, what do we call it today? Continuing education, like adult continuing education, that kind of thing. So this can mean a few things when it comes to connections in your current life. It's like, one, it could be you yourself that is like a champion of continuing education. You might be like, this is very important for everyone. Everyone should keep learning. It might be very important for you to keep learning things and keep growing. Maybe you're a reader. Maybe you're someone that's constantly reading just so you can kind of keep your mind well greased, you know what I mean? How a lot of people after school, they just kind of go about life and they don't read and they don't keep learning and growing in that way. Maybe that might be very important to you. So that would be a kind of connection. At the same time, I mean, you could be a teacher in some way in your life. So don't just limit it also to teaching as far as how we usually think of teaching. This also comes to teaching with our hearts. So you could be someone who, through good examples, maybe volunteer work or whatever it is you do, pro bono work or whatever, you are an example that teaches others to like live a more, like a more aware life, or like a lifestyle, or like being aware of others or helping others or being compassionate. That kind of thing can also fall into this category, so keep that in mind. As well, if you feel like you are missing something in your life right now and you're like, I feel like I'm at a standstill and I don't know what to do next, and you know what would make me feel fulfilled, it would be teaching, volunteering, nonprofit work, something that gets your energy around people, that gets people thinking. Definitely look into that. It can even be as simple as like teaching a class or a workshop on something that you happen to know about. You know, as simple as like build a birdhouse. Like you know, I know that's a random idea, but things like that, like where you are giving back in some way using the knowledge you already have. And again, not purely intellectual. It can simply be a good act, a good deed, using your heart to teach. So keep that in mind, all right? And keep making connections. So the first important day. So for the first important day here, we have the graduation card, which doesn't always, mean school graduation, but it can. And what I'm feeling like is that we are, in this day, there is a class you've been teaching in, a part of this area, this region, where it's the day where they are technically graduating, but there's no like real, credential kind of thing to, like today there's a standard kind of thing. There's no standards, but it's like we're looking at the last day of class. Everybody's passing, everybody's learned, they're doing great, and it's their last day and there's a graduation. So there's also this feeling of like, it's a little bittersweet because you really do bring such good energy to people. You make people feel better about themselves. You make people feel worthy of life, like worthy of themselves, like just as they are. like, hey, you don't know this skill yet, that's okay, you're where you need to be and I can help you, like that feeling. So in your current life, you might be someone where people come to feel better. You might be that person people talk to, maybe not for advice, or maybe for advice, but more so like a shoulder to lean on. You might be that person that's really, you find yourself, you're the shoulder people lean on, present for people, good listener, that kind of thing, because that's what we're feeling here. So on this last day, we see the relationship involved here. This relationship right here is family, and it's family because it really feels like you don't have a blood family, and so there's a part of you that does what you do because you find that when you are around these people for these short amount of times, it's like a double-edged sword, because one, it's like a short amount of time so you don't get too attached, but at the same time, these people are growing under your guidance, and there's a bond that's made. And so here we see this last day and you realize, wow, these people, they mean so much to me, and there's almost a feeling of validation where you understand how much you mean to them, and that's something new because you're very humble. So this person, this man is very humble. He doesn't think of like, oh yeah, go me, he's not a peacock. He's not like, I need I need validation or I need to take credit, that kind of thing. So he's not looking for that, and he doesn't really, what's the word, like he's uncomfortable kind of accepting that he is, I guess, loved like so much. And so this is a day, this particular place he's teaching at, this last day, there are particularly close bonds that have been made, emotional bonds with his students, and he's realizing this is what family feels like. And this might be coming up because in your current life you might find that blood isn't always thicker than water, and you might find that your friends and the people you choose to be in your life are the ones that are worthy of your love and attention. And it's also speaking to, if there are people in your life that are toxic that you haven't been able to get rid of because they might be blood family and that's really hard to separate yourself, it's time to do that. It's time to let go of toxic energy, get out of a toxic environment. If family is making you feel bad and bringing your vibration down and making you feel like just low, you don't need to be around them. And I know a lot of people feel loyal about family in particular, but if they're family, they should make you feel good. So don't feel guilty if it comes to breaking off some relationships you've had for a long time in order to kind of, I don't want to say save your soul, but like to raise your vibration and to move forward down your path. Because when you release toxic cords like that and get rid of toxic energy, toxic people and environments, you're going to see so many doors open and the right people are going to come in your path. And that's when you're going to find your tribe. That's when you're going to find the people that speak your language and make you feel real good about yourself and that encourage you no matter what you're doing. They'll be encouraging, and they'll just love the fact that you're happy. And that's where you need to be. You need to be in a place around people that make you feel happy, that just make you feel happy just with whatever you do, even if you do nothing, So keep that in mind. Now, the feeling card is the I can do it card, which is confidence. And this is a new step. It feels very much like you are allowing bonds to be made despite the fact that there's going to be distance in the future. So, you move around, you teach. You're not going to stop and stay with these people. You're going to keep moving. But for the first time, you're going to carry the love with you. You're going to carry those bonds with you, and you're going to be back. So this place is a very special place, which can connect in certain ways. Like even like something like maybe in your current life, you are experiencing a new feeling of affection, a new level of love, a new level of understanding that you don't need to be with people to love people. That love, it extends beyond time and space. So all you need to do is know and feel that you love someone, and you can know that you're instantly connected. Whether they're dead or living, just want to put that in there too. Whether they've passed on or they're still alive, we're all connected by energy and love. So keep that in mind. There's also something about coming home, coming back, finding it almost like it may be that you are looking for a home base, or you have one, which is good, but there's something very important about having one place in the world at least where you can come and feel at home and at ease and breathe a sigh of relief and just relax. And so I feel like this is a message for you to find your happy place, to find that place and kind of give it to yourself. If you don't have it already, find and give yourself your own sanctuary, wherever that might be. You don't have to tell anyone, or everyone can know, it doesn't matter, but find a place where you can just be you. And it could even be like, I know someone that there's like a treehouse hotel in the forest in Georgia, and I have a friend who goes there to be alone. And it's very rural and primitive or whatever, but it's like that's her happy place, so it doesn't really matter where it is. And it doesn't have to be technically a home either, because this person's very mobile. That can connect with you in the sense where you might love to travel, you might like to move around, you might like to be on the go. On the other hand, it can also mean that you want to settle down, you have always wanted roots, you need your cozy spot, so you can connect both ways in that way. But what this is saying here is at least have one happy place that you can feel like is like a home to your soul, okay? And that can also be with a person as well. So the next important day here. So here we have Mother Nature. So usually that indicates that something is going to happen as far as like a tornado, or in this case we're in the north, so I'm trying to see what exactly we're looking at, and when I say that, we're looking at something that's sliding, could be a glacier, could be ice, could be, what's going on? Okay, so what's happening is, what I'm seeing is almost like we're breaking from winter, we're coming into the new season, and with that comes defrost. With defrost comes movement. So there's a movement, a natural movement in the earth that's occurring. And I'm trying to see, because usually these Mother Nature things are usually like danger, like a dangerous like event or something, but in this case, I don't know if it feels that way. I'm trying to, hold on. Okay, so what it feels like, it doesn't feel like a terrible thing. It's just an important day because we're looking at a shifting of seasons, but the shift is different. It's not normal, almost like it's staying colder longer, or something that is supposed to have defrosted hasn't melted yet, kind of thing, where it's almost, or hold on, it's either it has melted too quickly or has not melted yet. So there is a prolongedness or some time issue. There's a time issue when it comes to something being frozen and unfrozen. And that is how I'm going to word it, because that's all I'm getting with this. And this is causing a delay. This is causing a significant delay for some reason. So we're going to see what's up with that. The people involved, the relationship is a soul group. Okay, yeah. So what's happening is we jumped ahead to the next important day, which is the day that you're returning or wanting to return to this place right here, where they feel like family. So I'm just seeing what's going on. So it's very important, because I feel like this is the first time you're returning back, and you've never felt this way when it comes to a return, because you do visit these villages like almost like on a clock kind of thing, like over and over again throughout the year. Like there's a designated time, like everyone expects you at a certain time, and but this is the only place where, again, you felt at home, you have bonds, they're like family. So we're returning back to this place where it's like returning home to family is what it is. So in your current life, you could be someone that there might be this weird longing feeling in you that's like wanting a place to return to, that gives you that feeling of like, what's it called, like a sanctuary, or like just like that cozy feeling of home. It could be you've never had that and you really want it, or that you already have it and it's very important to you, and this could be coming up. If you have it, this could be coming up as something to, again, like a message, like take care of that place. Don't like put it aside, don't belittle it, don't make it less than it is, because it is important to have this place. And if you don't have the place, this would be coming up. Let's say you're someone that is looking for a home, that kind of thing, this is coming up to let you know you're going to find it real soon. Like very, very soon, because you know what it feels like in your soul. You've had it before here. So once you know the feeling in your soul, you're able to find it again. You just have to wait and feel that feeling again. So keep this in mind as far as connections, and also keep making connections with yourself, with what you can do, you know, based off what we're going over here. Also with the nature card, as far as connecting with the Mother Nature card here, you know, do you have like, not issues, but are there certain seasons you don't like more than others? Or, like, is the coming of spring really important to you? Do you look forward to warmer weather? There's something about, like, seasons, something about changing of the seasons. Are you someone that really loves the changing of the seasons? You look forward to it. There's something with that. Try to make connections where you can, because I feel like there's a connection here that I might not be hitting on, but you might be able to understand it when it comes to the seasons, the change of seasons, the winter to spring thing, that kind of thing. It's just interesting because we're getting that right now, and it was just the equinox, you know, it was just, now it's fall. So that to me is a really cool connection. The equinox now, I'm finding with a lot of my clients and myself that there has been so much change lately. Like, so much has been, like, happened. Like, there's been, almost like, it's really weird. Like, there's been a couple of deaths. There's been a couple of, like, major injuries, which I know sounds bad, but it's actually, in a weird way, it's good, because it gets these people off their feet when they need to relax, kind of thing. I know that's kind of weird, but it is a good thing. There's been new jobs, there's been people who've been laid off, so there's like a huge changeover happening. Also with the psyche, people have, like, all of a sudden they've gotten new perspective and things, so be open to the change that's happening at this time, because this card is coming up for a reason, and it's the equinox for a reason, and I'm saying these things for a reason, so I'm just trusting that. So think about it, see what's happening in your life, that where there's like a shift or change happening, because that's why this might be coming up too, just FYI. So the feeling is held back, and the feeling held back kind of, it kind of makes sense. It feels like there is, again, something is being prolonged. It feels like something with the season or the ice or whatever is being prolonged, where you're not able to get to where you need in time. And the biggest thing about this is the feeling that somebody's going to be worried about you. You've never had anyone to worry about you, because you've never had a home in this life. You've never had a home where someone's like, where is he? Is he going to be back soon? Is he okay? I hope he's okay. Is he safe? So for the first time, you know in your heart there are people in that place, that town, where they're thinking of you, and you're being missed because you're being held back, and, you know, like, by the weather, this, whatever's happening here, you're being delayed is what it is. So it's that really lovely feeling, but that can also mean a connection in your life currently where you might be someone that needs to be on time, or if not, early. Like, timeliness to you might be a big deal. Maybe not even for you, but for others. Like, if someone says they'll be there at a certain time, you might get really super worried when they're not there exactly on time or a little early. This might even be where it's almost like you might get a little bit of a panic attack, or you might get angry at someone and, like, give them a hard time if they're not where they're supposed to be at a certain time. So timeliness might be an issue for you in some way, so keep making connections when it comes to timeliness. So let's go to the Death card. The Death card is fire. So I am going to feel this out and see what's going on. Okay? Because, you know, this card, a lot of times, you get a witch burning, you know, obviously, like, right here is like a little, like, burning at the stake kind of thing, but it doesn't always mean that. Be a house on fire. House on fire. I'm trying to see what this is. It's interesting. It's like, it's going, there's giving me two things. They're giving me summertime for the heat. It's kind of weird. Just bear with me. Summertime for the heat. But it's not hot, so there's a fire. So what it feels like is something about the schoolhouse. There's something about the schoolhouse being on fire. Because it feels like even though it's summer, for some reason there's a fire. It's almost like an activity. Okay, so what's coming through is really weird. but like interesting. So, because I don't know what this could be, but basically what's coming through is that he's back in the town that he loves, and it feels like at this time he's much older and he's finally settled down back in the town that he loves. And it feels like it's summertime, and it feels like despite it being summertime, yeah, it's still really cool temperatures where they are, and there's a fire going, but it's not, it feels like it's not a fire built as one would build a fire for the cold, like in the winter, just to stay warm. It feels like it's a fire that they have started for some kind of experiment or some kind of like lesson or an assignment, or there's something weird where it's something about, anyway, so they're like using fire, kind of like if we had like science class is what it feels like. It feels like a weird science class of some kind back in this day, and the fire gets out of hand, and it feels like just consumes everything, and it feels like you actually, there's something about you getting everyone out, you making sure everybody's out of the building, and then you're last one out. So it feels like you don't die in the fire. It feels like you die from smoke in the lungs. So how you can connect with this is, well, one, do you have a thing about fire in general? Are you, if you hear news articles or read about or see something about, fire, family in a fire, house fire, does that trigger you? Like more than other things, does that trigger you? 2, are you just not, you just don't want to be near fire? 3, you could have come back and you could have come back for the purpose of like embracing the fear of fire and actually be someone that likes to light candles and likes to work with like, I don't know, like, you blow glass and you have to be around fire, like that kind of thing, like using it in art or something like that. But really what it feels like, if there was any connection with this, if there's any connection with this, it would be the smoke in the lungs. So if you've had pneumonia in your life, if you get bronchitis, if you have lung issues, sinus, breathing, lung-ish stuff happening, like you get colds a lot, like like where there's gooky mucus stuff in your lungs and it's where it's hard to breathe, or that kind of thing. If you find that you get that occasionally, like it comes back maybe like every winter or every summer, that'd be interesting if you got it in the summertime. If you get sick in the summer, that would be really interesting to know. But let's say you do get sick, every year sometime, or every couple of years, or whatever it is, or you could be a couple things. 1, you are against cigarettes and you don't like people smoking cigarettes. 2, you could be someone that is a cigarette smoker or a smoker of some kind. Again, that would be to help subside the fear of having died after a fire, and that would also speak to the lung issue. But really, more than anything, it just feels like if you're someone that has bronchitis or you get flu, cold, things where there's mucus in the lungs, hard to breathe, just the hard to breathe kind of thing, that would be a connection with this. And if not, then that'd be awesome. But if there is, then it'd be a connection with that. So the lesson learned is amazing because it's the experience card, and you're sent in this life. It seemed like this life was made for you to experience what it's like to find family, have real people, like family that's not family, non-blood family, which is actually more precious in a way because you get to choose them. That's a big deal, for you to choose family and for family to choose you. So in this life, you had the experience, it was an emotional experience. The experience of being the chosen one, so to speak, and then choosing others to be part of your journey. It's not just that. I mean, we're looking at someone who traveled around a lot. You were into your intellect and your love of learning. You spread it around as a teacher. So you had the experience of that. You had the experience of finding the family, the non-blood family, the feelings that involve so warm and cozy and loving. Basically, this life expanded your capability and ability to love and feel love. And love is an energy. Love is a vibration. You can feel love, which means it's already in your soul memory, your cell memory. You hold the vibration of love just by being human, of course, but also learning how to love people who are not assigned to you, like families assigned to you. Learning how to love people despite them not being assigned to you. Learning how to receive love. That's a hard one for people. Receiving love, feeling worthy of it. And here you've learned it. So I feel like this is coming up also just as a reminder that you have experienced this before. You have it within you already. And you can utilize it. And when you do utilize those vibrations of love, you are raising your vibrations, you're raising the planet's vibrations, you're helping others around you, because we all feel each other. We're all connected. So you just by being you is enough. You need to get out there and you need to spread your energy around because it's a good energy. Just being you is enough. So you need to realize that. And you have to keep experiencing that. I feel like this is coming up because you are meant to continue on with your experience. It's almost like a mission. It's almost like part of your soul mission is to spread that loving vibration around just by being who you are and tapping into that. You know what I mean? And also we did talk about the experience of a home, finding a place that's important for you, cozy for you, feels good, homey. And it could be a person too, but I feel like this is more of a place. So you can find that home, but it doesn't mean that you're locked in. It doesn't mean you're rooted down to it if you don't want to be. You always have options. You always have the option to continue with other experiences as well. So don't see something as like a cage. It could be settling down in a home can be good for you. You just have to realize you are free to do what you want despite that. At the same time, you're not obligated to do that. I think that's the whole point is, if anything, experience, that loving vibration, but also what's coming through is to experience freedom in a way that you didn't even really get to experience here, because there's like this regional thing here where you're always kept in this region. I feel like there's something about even more freedom coming through, and that's a good thing. Don't ever think that's not a good thing. Experiencing freedom and experiencing the vibration of love. So keep that in mind and keep making connections however you can. Trust your gut. When you make those connections, they're real, they're good. So keep making connections. And anyway, there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to make some connections, and thanks for letting me read you.